Hello everyone, my name's Fiona and welcome back to my channel Death by Metal, a place where I talk about metal and share really terrible memes. Today's video is a continuation of my previous video where I was looking at the top 10 metal albums of the past decade. For those of you who haven't seen part 1, I'll place a link in the description. So just before we get into it, I'd like to do a quick recap of the rules for this list. And the rules are 1, I am only looking at metal albums. 2, I can only pick one album per year. And 3, I can't repeat a band, so each band can only appear once. So now that we know the rules, let's jump right in and look at the top 10 metal albums from the last decade. First off the mark is Ne Obliviscaris with Citadel. I'll openly admit that I was a little bit late to the Ne Obliviscaris party. I mean, I get it. I'm Australian, they're Australian, we're basically neighbours, but I honestly had no idea that they existed until I was watching an Elegy clip, and everyone in the comments section was like, "Oh, sweet Ne Obliviscaris shirt," and I thought to myself, what's Ne Obliviscaris? So I googled it and it just changed my life forever. Ne Obliviscaris are this perfect yin and yang band. They have this guy called Zenyor, or Zen, who does these really haunting growls. And then there's this other guy who's called Tim Charles, and he does these really crisp, uplifting vocals. And he also plays the violin, and it's this mix of light and dark in their music. It's just done so well. The songs are peppered with just enough contrast to enhance the emotion. And honestly, Tim Charles's violin it can be so uplifting that it feels like you're floating on air, and in other times it tears at your soul with such sadness. It kind of feels like you're being dumped by your girlfriend and murdered at the same time. And if you don't have this album, I really suggest going to Season of Mist's website, putting it in your cart and buying it. It honestly changed my life, and I think it'll change yours. Fleshgod Apocalypse with Labyrinth. This album's amazing. I'm sorry, that's probably why I have no subscribers. But in all seriousness, this album is just another brutal offering by everybody's favourite undead Italians. And the brutality of this album, I think, is exemplified in the track Elegy. So imagine a song where the drummer swaps their bass drums for machine guns, and then I think they add in an orchestra, there's some kind of choir going on, and then they just turn up the tempo until the metronome breaks. And just when you think that it can't get any more brutal, this guy comes in and just does his aggressive growled vocals, and they just go hard at it for like 4 minutes 19. It's honestly an assault. You do get a slight reprieve during the guitar solo, but really the drummer is still carrying on like he's in that final scene of The Last Samurai, so you don't quite get to catch your breath. But this album is a journey. I mean, quite literally, it's a concept album, but it's fantastic. The drums are killer, the growls, screams, and operatic vocals are fantastic. And the guitar, I mean, it's tech death, so you know it's fantastic. And there's just enough orchestral elements in this album to comfort you in between the beatings. Gojira.
L'enfant sauvage.
You probably know Gojira as everybody's third favourite French band, but they're also well known for creating this album. The first track on
L'enfant sauvage
opens with these squealies, and you just know that the rest of the album is going to be good. Gojira have this really unique chugging sound, and it shines on this breakthrough album of theirs. Honestly, there's so much chugging on this album that it reminds me of when I was back in uni and we'd all pitch in to buy a goon bag because it worked out cheaper than each of us buying individual bottles of Passion Pop. But I digress. Gojira are one of the heaviest bands out there, and it's all in the guitar. There's no growls. I mean,
Duplantier
has an awesome harsh sounding vocal, but the heaviness is in the guitars, the downtuned chugs, and the pitch harmonics. It's just outstanding. If you don't know this band, I suggest checking out the title track.
L'enfant sauvage.
It has all of the musical elements I've described, and it also has a dog in the film clip. Metallica, Lulu. I'm kidding, that album sucks. Septic Flesh, The Great Mass. It's been empirically proven that Septic Flesh are the best band in the world. In the last decade, they've released 3 really great albums, so picking between them for this list was really tough, especially when there's a hair's breadth between all of them. And it could be argued that their best album didn't even come out last decade, so why the Great Mass? I mean, there's multiple factors. The track listing reads like a best of, the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra performed the orchestral elements, and it was produced by Peter Tegrin, so you know it's got to be good. This album has been out for nearly 9 years now, so my relationship with it has changed over time, and my favourite song has also changed multiple times. So the song I want to talk about is Apocalypse. So Apocalypse starts fairly innocuously. There's a harpsichord, and then the guitar and drums start. It's all fairly straightforward. But the song is calm, and it's the use of the strings in the chorus that makes the chorus, it sounds almost pleasant. It's beautiful. But when you listen to the lyrics, I mean, this song is called Apocalypse for a reason. It's about a god that wants to die. It's about plague and doom. And things don't start to get crazy until 30 seconds before the end. And it's a pretty short song, but the instrumentation just gives it the effect that I don't know if the players within the song are just sort of quietly and calmly accepting their fate, or if it represents God sort of sadly planning the demise of his people. But it's beautiful. And then, boom, right at the end, there's chaos and it's reflected in the music, and then everybody dies. If you don't know Septic Flesh, which you're just missing out if you don't, I honestly recommend listening to this album. Feyd, Eifur. I've seen enough Reddit threads and read enough YouTube comments to know that nobody on the internet seems to agree on whether or not Feyd are actually metal, or if their old stuff is better than their new stuff. So I figure that no matter what I say here, there's bound to be somebody who's going to disagree with me. But I've included this band on my list because I absolutely have a thing for folk-inspired bands that sing in languages that I don't understand and play instruments that I can't pronounce. So you can see why Feyd belongs here. If you ever wanted to know what metal sounded like without electric guitars, then I recommend listening to Feyd. A good starter song for anyone who is new to this band is Gryning. I can't tell you what it's about, but from the looks of the film clip, it's about Vikings and death, so it's pretty much the same as the rest of metal. But in a way, you don't need to know what this song's actually about. You can hear the emotion in the singer's voice. This song is sad. I mean, just look at his face. You know he must be singing about something important. But honestly, the riffs, no matter what instrument they're played on, they are fantastic. There's this like earthy, raw sounding quality to the whole album. It's in the instrumentation, it's in his voice, and it truly showcases what metal is about. Like, metal's not always about brutality. A big part of metal is about artists just playing their absolute guts out, playing their instruments really, really well, and playing beautiful, well written, complex, and powerful songs. And if that's the kind of metal that you're into, then I really suggest you listen to Feyd. Also, did I mention they had Vikings? If you've made it to the end, I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. And if you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to this channel. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought of these choices and what you would have picked if you were doing this list. Thanks again for watching.